Inspire with Nendrix, the foundation.
Hey, Embracing Arms community, this is Dr. Danielle Harrison coming back to you with another 5-minute quickie with your best life. I'm coming to you, I'm actually in my car. I'm in Starbucks trying to get my coffee to get my day kick-started. I know that's a whole nother conversation. And headed to vote. We're not talking about voting today, but we will. But this conversation is about our educators out there. I taught college, and so this may not apply for those who teach K through 12, but specifically those who teach college. We know that our young people are showing up differently now, right? Most of them are showing up virtually because that's just the state of our country right now. And it is ever more important for us to be prepared. We know that there are some educators who just can't get that syllabus together and ready for our young people before class start. Maybe it's because you just got the new edition of the textbook that you've been working on. You need to read through it so that you can recalibrate your syllabus. Maybe there are people that you have scheduled to come in and speak to your class on certain topics and you're waiting for confirmation. You know, maybe there are handouts that you're trying to retrieve so that you can add it to the body. I don't know what it is, but there's delays sometimes. I've always made it a practice that my young people could get their syllabus at least 2 to 3 weeks, if not a month, before class start. And we spend the first day of class combing through that syllabus and making sure I answer every question that they have about their assignments and what my expectations are and what their expectations are, and really just an open discussion to get to know my class. But the other thing that I've done in the past is I would send out a Quickie survey or maybe a Google form asking them questions about who they are, how do they learn, right? How do they receive information? How do they engage with their classmates? You know, what other extracurricular activities are they involved with that may impact their ability to be consistent or to, complete assignments? You know, what are their hobbies? What are some things that they think that I just should know about them that they may not be willing to share in the classroom? I asked them if they have siblings. Not so. I'm on the syllabus thing, right? I asked them if they have siblings. I asked them if they're, in state or out of state. I asked them if they're living on campus or off campus. All of these things really matter to me in preparing for my students, especially their learning style, because I want to embed the full experience for my young people. If you are kinesthetic, I want to make sure there's a little bit of that. If you're auditory, I want to make sure that there's a little bit of that. If you're more linguistic, I want to make sure that there's a little bit of that. A great balance for my students. So how are you showing up and getting prepared to receive your young students? And I've found that doing that survey and having that syllabus ready well in advance have worked wonders. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to make changes to the syllabus, right? And be flexible. Sometimes you have to make a little bit of adjustment. I remember one year I had probably, out of the 25, well, maybe it was 40 students in my class, about 10 of them were part of our marching band, right? And the marching band traveled with the football team, and sometimes they have competitions. And in this particular year, they were participating in the Macy's Day Parade in New York. And I was going to be missing a lot of students on this day for an exam, and I did not want them to be burdened with doing the exam on the plane or trying to do it in the hotel. And so I moved the exam date. I know it was only 10 students out of the 40 that was in my class, but it was significant, right? And so sometimes you might find that you have to make some adjustments to your syllabus. That's okay. That's okay. Have the conversation in advance. Spend the first day of class if you can afford to give up that first day of class. If my classes for graduate school were about 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours, once a week, we met. And so some educators may not feel like it's worth giving up a whole 2.5 hours just to go over the syllabus. I found it very valuable because I addressed those questions. We got to make those adjustments. If there was any errors on the syllabus, I made those, I fixed those errors. We went over expectations. We went over what, they expected from me and what I expected from them, and we had a clear understanding. So show up and be prepared and ask questions about who your students are. That's a little deeper, that runs a little deeper than what you would get just in their registering for your class, right? You know their course of study that they're in, and you might know if you know their gender, and you may even have information at the tips of your finger regarding where they're coming from. But ask those questions. What are your hobbies? How do you learn? Do you have siblings? Are you living off campus or on campus? Ask them questions about, something personal that may have an impact on their ability to thrive in your classroom. It really, really makes a difference, especially now. So that's just my 5-minute, quickie for you. Continue to go in the community and embrace someone. They're waiting on you, and also live your absolute best life.
My La Casa boy, this is my residence. My prescription boy, this is my medicine. The world can be sickening, living in house resemblance. Not to mention the media's effort to keep us in the most simplistic state of mind. Lowest age bracket committing the highest rate of crime.